Dog stares out the window every day until the neighbor puts a stop to it. It had been going on for months at this point. Her dog would just sit there and stare out the window, and she had no idea why. It started suddenly, and she couldn't think of a reasonable explanation behind his behavior. He spent hours of his time sitting by the same window. He was contemplative and melancholic as he stared into the neighbor's yard, but one day, it stopped, and since then, he had fallen into a deep depression. But what was going on? This story was shared on Reddit by a woman who goes by the name of Katie. Her dog was 7 years old when it happened, and Katie had never seen him like that. That change in her dog's behavior seemed to come out of nowhere. But eventually, she found out what was going on. Her neighbor had something to do with it. And when the time came, she would have to have a few words with him. It started one day, all of a sudden. Katie's dog's behavior hadn't been anything out of the ordinary for the weeks prior. But one day, something seemed to take over him. One day, he just spent the whole evening staring out the window. At first, Katie didn't give it much thought. But she would soon notice an uncanny pattern that made her wonder what was going on. The dog did the same the next day. And then the next again, and the one after that. And it came to a point where it was an essential part of his daily routine that filled most of his day. Katie's dog's days seemed to become centered on whatever he was looking at from the window. He would stay there several hours a day, quietly staring outside. But what was he looking at? Katie spent some days wandering around the garden, looking for whatever was attracting her dog's attention so intensely. She thought that maybe it was a squirrel or a family of squirrels. But she had never seen any of those in her garden before, and she didn't see them now either. Katie was racking her brains, wondering what the matter with her dog was. At times, she even feared that her dog might be sick. That behavior looked like nothing she had ever seen him do before. So she started thinking about taking him to the vet. But one day, she finally found out what it was that her dog was obsessing over. She was staring at a certain something that could be seen behind her neighbor's window. It was her neighbor's cat. She noticed that the cat would also sit by her neighbor's window at the same time as her dog, and the two of them would spend hours quietly staring at each other from a distance. It was almost like her dog was enamored with the cat. From then on, Katie became a witness to the two pets' long-distance relationship. But one day, something happened. Just like any other day, her dog had woken up from his nap and rushed straight to the window. But that time, he didn't stay there too long. After just a few minutes, he got off the window and lay on the floor. He seemed sad. For the whole day, he didn't want to eat, play or go out at all. Katie was wondering what was going on. The next day, the same thing happened. And also the next one, and the one after that. The dog seemed seriously depressed. It was then that Katie decided to take him to the vet. She was asked the usual questions about sleep, diet and habits. Nothing seemed to be wrong with the dog, and there was no apparent explanation for his change in behavior. So Katie went back home, even more puzzled than before. But she found what was causing her dog's shift in behavior. The cat from the neighbor's window was gone. Katie's neighbor had placed some plants there so that the cat couldn't sit at that spot anymore. And therefore, her dog couldn't stare at it. That was probably the root of his depression. He was just lovesick. Katie wondered if her neighbor's cat would be going through the same thing. Katie couldn't stand to see her dog like that. He seemed to have lost passion for everything. All he did was sleep, and his low mood, with a lack of activity and appetite, was starting to take a toll on his physical health. That was when Katie saw clearly that she had to do something. So she devised a plan to take her dog out of depression. Katie wrote a note to the neighbor, telling him about how in love her dog was with his cat, how much he enjoyed staring at it from the window, and how heartbroken he was now that his loved one was gone. She waited for a response. She was a bit afraid of coming off as crazy to her neighbor, but she was also willing to do anything to see her dog happy again. Would the neighbor reply? And just one day later, Katie got a letter back from her neighbor. He hadn't been aware of the romance between the two pets, but he was more than happy to remove the plants and allow it to continue. But there was one question in the air. Would the two still be so infatuated with each other, or would the time apart have made any of them lose interest? That question was cleared right after Katie's neighbor removed the plants the following day. Katie saw that the cat was back in its usual spot. He awakened her dog from the nap he was taking on the floor and motioned at him to come next to the window. The dog went over, still bearing a sad and disillusioned air. But when he saw his loved one waiting for him on the other side, he was instantly cheered up. He started waving his tail and stayed there for hours and hours. So everything went back to normal, and the two pets could continue their long-distance relationship. And both Katie and her neighbor were happy to witness their love story. We feel like this story shows how animals can teach us, humans, a thing or two about love and romance. What do you think about it? Now that it was clear that the two would never tire of each other, Katie thought about the situation long and hard. She had never seen any two animals of different species together like this. She knew the two animals were special together and needed special attention. They needed to be recognized. A brilliant idea dawned on Katie. She went to her bedroom and took her phone off of charge. She walked back outside and recorded the event. She smiled watching her dog have such an amazing time. She recorded them having fun and decided to post the event online. After posting it on Facebook, she went to bed. But she had no idea what she had just set in motion. Katie woke up the next morning and checked her phone. She could never have known how much her post would blow up. She had hundreds of comments on her post about it online. She checked the comments and slowly scrolled through the first 10. A lot of them were sharing their thoughts on how cute the two were. But she had no idea that if she dived a little deeper, she'd find more unsettling comments. After checking a few of the comments, Katie's day went on as usual. She watched her happy doggo enjoy the company of the neighbor dog as she went about her business. But she had no idea how things would change. Katie would soon learn one crucial detail she hadn't considered the day before. One that would change everything. Katie decided to check more of her comments that night. She was proud that her doggo was such a sensation online. She had no idea what would happen when she read one particular comment. She kept scrolling through the comments. But she ended up stopping on one and it would have her rushing for her phone to check the post. Katie was scrolling the comments until she stopped on one that wasn't as positive as the others. The user asked her what was in the background. Katie furrowed her brow in confusion at the comment. Katie had heard of trolls on the internet, scaring people for no good reason. Was it a prank someone set up? But she had no idea what she was getting into. Katie felt a mix of emotions. She didn't want to be pranked, and who was that person to tell her that something was in the picture? She decided that the best thing to do was to ignore the comment. She decided they just must not have liked her post. Maybe it was a planter they didn't like the look of. Or maybe even they just didn't like her dog. Regardless, she had no idea that she shouldn't have ignored the comment. A few days passed and Katie was still enjoying her pet's internet fame. It was getting an insane amount of likes and comments. Katie couldn't even look through too many because of the sheer amount of them. Her doggo had reached stardom on Facebook and she was proud of him. But she should have paid more attention to what the comments were saying. But so many likes and comments, Katie was on cloud 9. But sooner or later, things had to change. She opened up her phone and read more comments. This time, she found another strange comment. It felt ominous. All the comment read was "look at the post." Katie felt a strange dread creep over her. Katie kept scrolling down the comments. She didn't understand how she didn't see these ones before. More and more kept saying the same thing. They were all begging for her to check the post again. Her heart began racing. What was wrong with her photo? Was her dog alright? Maybe it was something with the cat. Katie had no idea what was on the post, she almost didn't even want to look at it. She put her phone down and tried to calm down. She lay down for an hour before finally deciding that she couldn't put it off any longer. She'd have to look at the post and see what was wrong in her picturesque life. But once she got back to her phone, she wouldn't be ready for what she saw. Katie was beyond confused when she looked at it again. It didn't look like anything was wrong. She saw her dog playing with the cat through the fence, along with a few of her plants in the background. She looked through the comments again until she found one with an explanation. It would have her racing out the door and checking on her dog. Katie found a comment that shed some light on the situation. Look in the background. You have lily of the valley. It's poisonous to animals. Katie felt like she had been hit in the gut. She ran outside to check on her dog. She had no idea that what she had was lily of the valley. She knew it was some kind of lily, but she'd heard how poisonous this particular plant was. But would it be too late? Katie rushed to her dog and hugged him. She checked him for any signs that he'd eaten the plant and then rushed over to the culprit itself. The lily still looked pristine. There wasn't a single bite out of it. Katie quickly disposed of the plant. She felt bad for the lily, but she couldn't risk her pet's safety. After getting rid of it, she could finally breathe easily. Katie knew that she had learned a valuable lesson. She found a nice replacement for the lily that wasn't toxic to animals and put it on display. Her followers seemed pleased when they noticed she replaced the plant and thank goodness they alerted her. She wouldn't know what to do if she ever lost her fluffy companion. With her lesson learned, she looked forward to posting more photos and videos of her and her dog's life.